Got to talk about this. Jim Harbaugh, coach of University of Michigan Wolverines. Here's a report from Bleacher Report. Timothy Rapp report: Michigan's Jim Harbaugh's 4-game suspension rejected by infractions committee. Okay. Well, here is the statement. This was on Twitter or X. I guess it's now. It's called X now. I don't know what any of this is. I'm not on Twitter. This is a tweet from Nicole Arbach sent to the Athletic. Text message from Derek Crawford, the NCAA Vice President in Hearings Operations. So I'm going to read this and we'll talk about it. And I quote: the Michigan infractions case is related to impermissible on and off campus recruiting during the COVID-19 dead period and impermissible coaching activities. Not a cheeseburger. I just want to make that clear. Not a cheeseburger. It is not uncommon for a COI to seek clarification on key facts prior to accepting. COI may also reject an NR if it determines that the agreement is not in the best interest of the association or the penalties are not reasonable. If the involved parties cannot resolve a case through the negotiated resolutions process, it may proceed to a hearing, but the committee believes cooperation is the best avenue to quickly resolve issues, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, Jim Harbaugh managed to somehow get himself out of this suspension. One problem. He probably should have just taken the 4-game suspension. The reason I say that is because given now that this whole stupid cheeseburger thing, which I don't even know how this could happen, because there were very intelligent people, very smart people who are not usually, generally speaking, dishonest, just for some reason saying, "Oh my gosh, can you believe they're suspending Jim Harbaugh because of a cheeseburger?" When it's like, no, that's just not. I mean, it's not accurate to say that. Okay, and I want to be charitable because I don't hate Jim Harbaugh, but Jim Harbaugh lied to NCAA investigators about things he did regarding recruiting that may or may not have given him a competitive advantage at getting recruits. Now, what I know a lot of people might say is, well, every team does this. Every team in the SEC does this. Nick Saban probably does this. Kirby Smart probably does this. Blah, 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 blah. I'm sure they do. That doesn't mean it's not against the rules. And that doesn't mean that you get to lie about it. And that also doesn't mean that if you get caught lying about it, that you don't deserve to get punished. And Jim Harbaugh is not going to get punished this year, but he will almost certainly get punished next year. That's from what I can tell from reading this article. And I believe it was, yeah. So let's see. From Pete Thamel, sources caution that next steps are uncertain and Harbaugh's status to start the 2023 season or any potential suspension has yet to be determined. So what will probably happen is they're going to let him go through this season and then they will revisit this whole thing for next season. And I would imagine the penalty would be much stronger given this whole like rigmarole about cheeseburgers and making the NCAA look like a joke, which I mean, the NCAA just looks like a joke anyway, because they don't know how to enforce their rules and there's no commissioner and nobody knows what's going on. But, you know, it's like you don't lie to the cops because, I don't know, you have a bad opinion of police officers. You don't do that. You don't lie to the NCAA because you think the NCAA is stupid. I think the NCAA is stupid. I don't know what they do. I mean, like, this is just a genuine question to them. I don't even, what is their job? I mean, I really don't know. But the reality is you lied and you're going to have to pay the consequences. But the thing about it is Jim Harbaugh is poised right now this year to probably go on a national championship run. I would imagine at the very least they're going to win the Big Ten again because I don't really trust in Penn State. And Ohio State is going to have a new quarterback. And not like Michigan ever really had a problem with Ohio State recently, but I think we're looking at probably another Michigan Big Ten title, which inevitably means another playoff run. And the question is, are they going to be able to get it done? And I think it's very possible they could. I don't necessarily think it will happen. I'm not saying it won't. I just don't really know. Uh, I can't say definitively because, well, for one, Michigan has never won a playoff game, let alone go to a national championship, let alone win the national championship. So, with all of that being said, if Michigan fails to win it, or if they do win it, I wouldn't expect Jim Harbaugh to be back. I mean, if he's going to get suspended right after winning a championship, we know that he has had NFL aspirations, and he's been in the NFL before. People forget he was a coach for the San Francisco 49ers before he came to Michigan. And he actually went to a Super Bowl. I'm sure some people remember that. But with this situation, it's like it's very similar to someone named Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll obviously had been the coach at USC. There was some rule breaking that might have been going on. I don't know what was going on. USC goes on these crazy runs, and Pete Carroll says, "You know what, guys? Actually, I'm gonna go work for Seattle." And Pete Carroll was never punished. USC was punished. Reggie Bush was punished, but Pete Carroll was never punished. And the question then becomes, how does Jim Harbaugh get viewed in Michigan? And now, if he wins a national championship, he could he could burn down, I don't know any of the buildings at U of M. I didn't go to U of M. He could burn down, I don't know, the U of M alumni building. I don't know what it's called. And they would just be like, you know what? He was a little excited. He was a little excitable. That Jim. Sometimes he just commits arson. I don't know. It's an honest mistake. And I would say that if they win it all and he leaves, I'm trying to think of how I would react. I would probably react with, you know what, whatever. I guess that's my thing. I guess for me, it's like, yeah, I mean, I wish you would have stayed, but I kind of get it. You're running away. You're running into the sunset. You finish the job. Now you're going to leave. That's fine. Now I would prefer that none of this has to happen, and you could have just avoided this by admitting wrongness and taking the 4-game suspension, and we wouldn't have to deal with it. But didn't want to do that. They didn't like the 4-game deal, so he's going to play all year. He's going to coach all year. So, yeah, I would venture to guess that Mr. Harbaugh is probably of the mindset that he is going to run it back this year, and this is going to go all in. This is his all-in push where he's going to go for blood. He's going to go for blood, go for gold, what have you. And if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't work out, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be an interesting offseason for whether or not he's going to go to the NFL, because obviously there's always going to be openings in the NFL. Some coach gets fired every single year in the NFL. Question is what kind of coaches he would take over, because there's the Raiders. That's a potential hot seat. Who else? Maybe the Saints. I don't really know what their coaching situation is. Buccaneers. That's an option. I don't really know if their coach is going to stick around. An interesting one might be the Rams. So if the Rams have another really bad season, I don't really know what they're going to do with Sean McVay. I wouldn't imagine they would fire him, but it might be an interesting season. I'm not suggesting that's what's going to happen. Of the AFC, Kevin Stefanski, I believe that's his name, the Browns coach. That could be an option. If the Browns fail to live up to playoff hopes or anything this year, that could be an interesting option. You know what else might be an interesting option is the Ravens, which I think would be absurd because obviously the Ravens coach is John Harbaugh, who I think is absolutely fantastic. I think he's a great coach. So there would be no reason for them to fire him, but it would be kind of funny if he just ended up replacing his older brother there. Who else? Ooh, the Patriots. That's another one. We'll talk about Bill Belichick in a little bit. But that's another one where we could see a new coach in New England, which would be I'm pretty sure the first time I've ever seen a coach not named Bill Belichick coach the Patriots. I think so. I don't know when Belichick took over. It was at least in 2000. I was born in 99. So, I mean, I don't remember the rest of that year. So, I was born in September. So, I don't really know. There could have been a coach that was the coach then that was not Belichick. I could be wrong. Who else? Hmm. Maybe the Bills? If the Bills fail to live up to expectation, do they go to Jim Harbaugh? That's the question. I don't know. A lot of options though. A lot of options. So yeah, I think with this Harbaugh thing, do I really care that he was suspended? No. I mean, he wasn't really like it didn't really matter if he could still just not coach the games and he'd still win. But like, I guess I'm happy to say that if he does end up staying, he will probably be suspended for longer. And I guess I shouldn't say I'm happy to say. That's not exactly right. Um, I'm not exactly happy that he's suspended. I am not surprised. But and again, we actually don't really know. I'm going to assume they're going to lay the hammer on him if he ends up coming back, but I don't anticipate he's coming back. I think he's going to go all in and say, you know what, NCAA, I'm going to go take a very long walk in the opposite direction. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.